Paul Murphy.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Taoiseach, Irish households are being ripped off by electricity companies. That isn't just how they feel about it, it's a fact. We have it in black and white from the International Energy Agency. I'll quote from their report. The disparity in Ireland, talking about the gap between wholesale electricity prices and retail prices, was the largest in all of Europe, with the energy component of retail prices three times higher than wholesale prices. In plain language, the reason we have the highest electricity prices in Europe is because the electricity companies are engaged in blatant profiteering off of the back of ordinary people. SSE Airtricity declared profits of 113 million to the end of March 2025. Energia, 33 million for the first quarter alone. Bord Gáis, 39 million in the first half of this year. I could go on. The cost of their profits is a crisis for households, 1 in 3 of whom are now in energy poverty. And those families are facing a cold, long, dark winter, Taoiseach. They are facing electricity companies that one after the other have hiked their prices in recent weeks, and their worry is confounded by the failure of the government to do anything in last week's budget to protect them. The economists are very clear. Your budget will lead to an increase in poverty, particularly for older people and for renters who are more likely to suffer from energy poverty in poorly insulated homes. No energy credits, despite the fact that people's bills are higher now than they were last year. No price controls to stop what I think you described earlier as price gouging. No significant investment in retrofitting that we need to give people warmer homes and much reduced bills. And no change from the policy of households subsidising the data centres of the big tech companies, paying for their hundreds of millions of euros of so-called capacity payments. The fundamental root of all of this is the so-called
the Minister has established the National Energy Affordability Task Force, because there is an issue with affordability of energy, that's acknowledged. And you've made the point that you would get rid of the regulatory framework and go back to a renationalisation of our energy system. And there's no guarantee if you just renationalise that you get cheaper prices differently. We shouldn't pretend that you would, because of course fundamentally we have to invest an enormous amount now into expanding our grid and making sure it's fit for purpose for a growing economy and a growing population. The population is growing exponentially. We've had extraordinary economic growth over a long period of time. We've managed, actually, contrary to most of established economic norms, to maintain or indeed reduce marginally income inequality in this country, thanks to our progressive taxation system. But that said, it has impacts in other areas. And the Minister has met with the companies. We focused our work in terms of trying to protect those who would be most affected by energy price increases. And addressing energy affordability is key for us. No, you said nothing in the budget. Well, the historic VAT rate of 13.5%, for example, has been applied to gas and electricity. But we had reduced that since 2022 to 9%. And Budget 26 extended this reduction to the end of 2030. If we hadn't done that, that would have meant significant increases in electricity prices and gas prices. The fuel allowance has gone up up to 38 euro per week now. That's an increase of more than 15%. And that would provide additional 140 to cover up to over 460,000 recipients during the annual fuel allowance season. And that payment is being expanded to include those in receipt of the working family payment. So targeting our resources to those most in need, I think, makes sense. In addition, our retrofitting programme has been quite impactful, reducing many households' energy bills. About £500 million plus has been allocated for residential and community energy schemes. 280 million has been specifically allocated to the Warmer Homes Scheme, which provides free retrofits to households in energy poverty. And in 2024, this facilitated nearly 8,000 energy upgrades in low-income households. And we've also taken action. You mentioned it. We did, during the height of the energy crisis, provide energy credits. But for sustainable public finance reasons, it makes sense, I think, that we target our resources through retrofitting, through warmer home programmes, of those who would be most impacted. And then the Minister is working with the companies and making sure that no one's cut off and that there's hardship funds there to help people more generally who could get into difficulty as a result of increased energy prices.
Taoiseach, earlier you posed the question, what are we proposing to do to pressurise the energy companies to lower the costs? And I put forward that we should put forward, we have a bill already to have price controls, so to stop the blatant profiteering. And I put back to you, what are you going to do? And the answer, it appears, is nothing. Well, you mentioned a bunch of things that have already been done. You're standing over the withdrawal of the cost of living supports, and the impact of that is going to be deeper poverty. I mean, it was spoken about that this is a budget for child poverty. It absolutely was a budget for child poverty, to increase child poverty. You can look at the report of the Parliamentary Budget Office, an impartial office, which says that income poverty rises nationally from 11.7% in 2024 to a forecast level of 13.2% in 2025 due to the withdrawal of the cost of living package. Income poverty rates rise most for the elderly, from 13.3% in 2024 to a forecast level of 19%. Child poverty also increases. Your budget increased poverty in this state. We have evidence now that people are being ripped off by the energy companies who are charging 3 times what they're paying for the electricity. 3 times. And you're saying we'll do nothing about it. We won't do the price control. Power under the Consumer Protection Act to introduce price controls to stop this profiteering, and people want you to act.
Deputy, that is out of order.
We will not be introducing price controls. They failed in the past and they would fail again. In terms of child poverty, in terms of consistent poverty, poverty is the key metric, not relative poverty. You didn't qualify which you were talking about. Consistent poverty is what we have to deal with. And our child poverty programme in the budget was very significant, highest in a long, long time. And the once-off payments were just that for 2 years in a row and before that. During COVID, we had to intervene, and during the energy crisis. They're not sustainable over a decade. They can't just keep going on, because we don't have we would not have sustainable public finances if we went down that route. And equally, it is arguable that very wealthy people don't need an energy credit. You're arguing that they do. I find that incredible. We do tax, and we have a very progressive tax system, which basically means that our income inequality has reduced despite very significant, strong economic growth. We believe in enterprise, you don't. Now, you have a broader view of how markets and economies should run, and that is fundamental to every particular specific proposal that you bring in on a given issue in here. It has to be seen in the overall round in terms of what kind of society you want. I would respectfully suggest the Irish people don't quite want the society that you advocate for.
Now, and that concludes.